What's up, everybody? Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Slam Sessions. I'm your host, Albert Justice. You can find me on Twitter at KYDJustice. And we're going to get you started right here with Session 1 of the Slam Sessions. In case you guys are wondering, this is going to be a little bit of a podcast about the world of professional wrestling. Now, I know normal podcasts usually go on and they're drone on about what's going on currently with the product. We all watch the product. We're all fans. If you weren't a fan, you probably wouldn't be listening to this right now. So we know what's going on. I don't have to review Monday Night Raw for you. You watch Monday Night Raw. I don't have to review the last pay-per-view. You watch the pay-per-view. What I'm here to do is to maybe give a little bit of discussion about what's going on and different things that are going on in the business as of right now. A little bit more about me, this way you kind of know where I'm coming from. I've been a wrestling fan since I was a little kid. My major moment was pretty much I remember watching WrestleMania 3 with my father and my sister. And from there on, I was hooked. I was probably one of the original marks, I guess you can say, because I loved all the bad guys. Growing up, watching wrestling in the 80s, I was a big fan of the Demolition, Randy Macho Man Savage, before Savage had, before and after, actually, Savage was a heel. I was a huge fan of the Honky Tonk Man and Ravishing Rick Rude, all those kind of guys. I actually was never a big Ultimate Warrior fan. I was never a big Hulk Hogan fan. Just, they never gripped me like the heels did. And I kind of grew up and kept to that, but, to a little lesser of an extent. Probably my favorite wrestler of all time is Bret the Hitman Hart. I'm a huge Chris Jericho fan. Like I said, I love the Macho Man, and how could you not grown up and love Stone Cold Steve Austin? The guy was absolutely the man. What I really now I want to get into is the idea of being a fan, because this is what we all are. We're all fans here. We've all sat back and we've watched wrestling for our, some of us for our entire lives, and we all have opinions. But the problem now is becoming, when do these opinions start getting into the way of what goes on our TV screens? What goes on our TV screens? I mean, let's face it. The fans now have the power to dictate what's being presented on television. And there's become a huge issue when it comes to the wrestling business with the fans coming out, talking about the product, and now actually affecting what's going on screen. Now, normally that's not a bad thing. Let's put it into perspective where it was a good thing. A couple of years ago, Daniel Bryan looked like he wasn't going to be in the main event of WrestleMania. We had Dave Bautista and Randy Orton was going to be our main event. Now, coming from a guy who was actually a fan of both of those guys, I wasn't even excited about it. And I was really happy to see Batista come back, despite everybody else seeming overwhelmingly seeming like they had no care or issue, or they had no care at all about Batista coming back. I was excited. I like Batista. I've always been a fan of Batista. But this is WrestleMania. There's got to be something. And Daniel Bryan was the hottest thing at that point. We saw him win the world title from John Cena at Survivor Series, and that was a great thing. However, the biggest issue that we had was that Daniel Bryan was absent from the WrestleMania main event, and we needed to get that right. So what did we do? We chanted yes at every moment. We started the yes movement, and wrestling fans came together for a common goal and a common purpose. We came together to elect Daniel Bryan as our next quote-unquote guy. Now, that's a great thing, except for the fact that once we saw that we had that much power, things kind of started taking a left-hand turn. And I don't think that a lot of people understand how much that these smart marks or the internet wrestling community has an effect on the programming we see on WWE right now. I'm going to clarify something right now. This is an argument that gets brought up time and time again, and I'm kind of getting a little bit sick of it. When I say internet wrestling community, I mean the people who go online, write about wrestling, complain about wrestling most of the time, and have this air about them that they know better than everybody else. The argument always gets made whenever I have an argument online with somebody talking about wrestling. Well, you're in the internet wrestling community because you're on the internet and you're talking about wrestling. This is the dumbest argument in the world. When we say IWC, we don't mean anybody who logs onto their computer and types up something and has anything to do with professional wrestling. We mean smart marks. Guys who believe that they know better than the people who are in charge or just know better than everybody else. Now, to a point, we can't fault them because they're all hardcore wrestling fans like we are. I mean, I'm sitting here doing a wrestling podcast. In essence, technically, I guess I can even call myself a part of the internet wrestling community because I'm going to spend a little bit of time during this podcast complaining about the WWE and their product that they're putting out right now. And that's not on the wrestling fans completely. That's on the booking. Now, the WWE is not innocent in any of this because I will place blame where blame is due. But my big issue is the fact that wrestling fans have become this hybrid breed of individuals that goes on to take over shows. Now, I think that's kind of a ridiculous premise, don't you think? But alas, here I am doing a wrestling podcast. I'm probably talking to most of the guys who are going to these shows and doing these things. And when I say doing these things, I mean chanting stuff that doesn't make sense to get themselves over. You guys aren't the performers in the ring. That's what we're supposed to do, is we're supposed to be there to get our favorite performers over. Now, I'm going to give a lot of examples of stupid things that wrestling fans are doing that are really hurting the wrestling business. The first thing that I've realized is that wrestling fans don't care about the WWE. They have no care whatsoever. They just want to see a great match. That's a great thing. Having a great 30-minute battle between two guys who can carry a 30-minute match is absolutely unbelievable. That's one of those things that's once in a lifetime. Except for the fact that we have it happen every Monday night on Raw. And now we're getting it every Tuesday night on SmackDown. I think we're getting to a point where these great matches are getting watered down. And we're so spoiled that anything less than something that is 110% amazing is bogged down in the minutia and is ridiculed. Case in point, Cesaro and Sheamus are doing their best of 7 series. They've had fantastic matches the entire time. But nobody cares because they're like, it's not really leading anywhere. Nobody cares about Sheamus. We don't like him. Or, oh man, Cesaro could be doing so much better. He should be heavyweight champion. So instead of sitting there and endorsing a guy like Cesaro, what do? We rip on the match that he's having. And I don't care. Whatever you guys can say whatever you want. Cesaro and Sheamus are tearing it down. Now, the wrestling fans nowadays are perpetuating what the wrestling fans nowadays are giving their opinion to make the WWE into their own image. This is why we have Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn in 7 different matches, and I'm not complaining so much because they can really bring it in the ring, and it's great. But remember when Monday Night Raw was good? Remember the Attitude Era? Remember when there was vignettes? Remember when there was backstage stuff that we saw? Remember when we saw people coming into the arena? Remember when you watched Raw and you knew that you couldn't change the channel because you couldn't miss a second? That's what we want back. I don't want to sit here and watch somebody do a damn show for 3 hours and have nothing on it. Because when I'm sitting there and I'm watching Raw, I'm getting to the point where I'm like, well, if I missed Raw this week, what the hell did I really miss? I didn't miss anything. A perfect example of the way that the WWE has changed over time is a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown, Heath Slater was looking for a tag team partner. If this was the Attitude Era, we would have seen 17 times Heath Slater from before a commercial break and after commercial break. Here comes Heath Slater coming out and he's asking this person and that person for, a chance for them to be his tag team partner. Going into the locker room with 3 people, choosing one guy. Then the second guy's like, I would have been your partner, but you chose him first. And the third guy just basically walks by him and says nothing to him. He goes up into the women's locker room and asks Natalya, hey, Natalya, why don't you be my partner? And she blows him off. And Alexa Bliss comes trailing out and she just completely ignores him. Stuff like that, where it would have been fun. Instead, we got treated to 3, what was it? I mean, maybe we got 3 backstage vignettes. One time he asked AJ walking right up the ramp. I mean, it's a cop-out. What we need to do is we need to bring the casual fan back in. And when I say we, I mean us as fans. Here's a major thing that a lot of people aren't realizing. Look at the ratings. The ratings are absolutely atrocious for Monday Night Raw now. I think the statistic was 3 years ago, there were 5 million people watching Monday Night Raw. during the first episode of Monday Night Football. Now there's barely 3. We've lost 2 million wrestling fans in 2 years. And what's driving them away? You can say it's bad storytelling. You can say it's bad WWE booking. But let's face it. The only reason why we think that some of these, the only reason why we think the booking is so bad is simply because we don't agree with every decision they make. I want you guys to do me a favor. I want you guys to do me a favor and go back to when John Cena was the most over guy in the company, when he wrestled JBL for the World Heavyweight Championship. I want you to do me a favor and picture how over John Cena was at that point. And I want you to go back and picture when John Cena started getting booed. Do you know why John Cena started getting booed? Because John Cena was wrestling all of our favorite guys. Chris Jericho, Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton, Edge, Triple H. John Cena needed to be put over those guys in order to become the next big thing in the professional wrestling business. Instead, what happened? We turned on John Cena because we now realize that we would rather have all these other guys come out here, all of our heroes from before, and think that they deserve another run with the title instead of putting a title on a guy like Cena who's going to carry the company for the rest of, let's look at it now. It's 12, 13 years that he's been carrying the company on his shoulders. But we don't respect Cena because he's not a guy who came from the indies. And I'm not going to sit here and jerk you guys around. For years, I was like everybody else. I was a mark. I sat there and I booed the hell out of John Cena. I went to live events and I booed John Cena and Rey Mysterio into an oblivion. But as I got older, I realized the fact that the WWE is a business. And in order for the WWE to succeed, we need to make sure that guys like John Cena are on the roster and on a top spot, because we need them to go on to places like some sort of morning show like Good Morning America and promote the company. Now, I know you guys out there love a guy like Dean Ambrose, but do you see Ambrose going on a morning show with, some of these celebrities and promoting the WWE? Is that going to bring people in? Because it's not going to bring me in. I'm going to sit here and tell you right now, if I'm not a wrestling fan, if I'm a casual fan, and I see John Cena, a guy who looks humongous, even while he's wearing a full 3-piece suit, standing there telling me he's going to beat the crap out of somebody, I'm going to want to see that. But you have a guy like Dean Ambrose who looked like he just smoked six blunts before he, got into that chair, and, has this little, I have this air about me where I really don't care. Do I love Dean Ambrose as a person, as a wrestler? Yes, I do. But as a representative of the company, you need a guy like John Cena to go out there and to do these interviews, to be charismatic and to get people drawn in. Which brings me to another guy who we've crapped on since he was chosen as being, the next big thing, and that's Roman Reigns. For all of you guys who don't know, can't figure it out, or, this is the first time you've listened to me, probably will be. This is the first Slam session. This is session 1. I'm from New York. I love the New York crowd. The New York crowd is absolutely by far one of my favorite crowds to watch a wrestling show. Except for the fact that the New York crowd lately has just become this bed of smarks. And we've gotten to a point now where we go to a wrestling show and we just chant during big matches for for things that don't even matter in the match. Now, a lot of things that I have that are really big issues when it comes to the wrestling industry are the fact that we have these people who come out here and they write online about the fact of Dolph Ziggler should be a world heavyweight champion. I don't know why WWE booked Stardust like they did. He was so much better. He should have went back to being Cody Rhodes, and he should be, this big thing. The Miz is, a terrible heel, and we should boo him out of the building because he wasn't, an indie wrestler. He's just, some guy who holds a title. Oh, we don't like The Miz. Sin Cara, that's another one we weren't a really big fan of because, he wasn't one of the chosen guys on our side. And we can watch Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn fight forever. It would be one of those situations where we would pay our weight worth in gold to see Sami Zayn go one-on-one with Kevin Owens on a major pay-per-view for a major championship. Yet the last Monday Night Raw that was held in New York, that was right around the time of WrestleMania, where Roman Reigns was facing Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship. There was a 6-man tag team match with those 6 guys in it. Now, you would think that we would sit there as New Yorkers and we would sit there as wrestling fans and we'd cheer for Kevin Owens. We'd cheer for Sami Zayn and Dolph Ziggler and Stardust. We would want to see these guys succeed because that's essentially what we want. We wanted to bring them up to the next level like Kevin Owens is right now. Instead, what happened? JBL chants, Michael Cole chants, CM Punk chants. People are doing the wave. You want to get these guys noticed? You want guys to come out here and get a push? How about you do them a favor and cheer for them when they come out? How about you stop giving up when the WWE seems to have given up on people and then turn your back on them when they get a world title shot like Dolph Ziggler? Guy like Ziggler comes out, gets a SummerSlam title match. One of the biggest moments of his life, and everybody is aloof and doesn't care. Oh, the WWE screwed him so much, I don't even want to see him get a world title shot. If you're a fan of somebody, be a fan. Don't sit there and turn your back on them because you think that the WWE screwed with them. If you want the WWE to push this guy, and you want this guy to be the next big thing, then cheer for him. Let your voices be heard, because let's face it, what did we talk about before? When we let our voices be heard, we had a guy like Daniel Bryan shoot from the bottom up to the top. And that's a huge deal. Now, if you really want to see the WWE become, if you really want to see the WWE become an indie federation, then keep doing what you're doing now. Because that's what it's becoming. It's becoming a niche program. Nobody cares about the WWE anymore as it pertains to the casual fan. And the big issue is that the hardcore fans don't care about the casual fans. And that's something that we need to get over, because we need those casual fans. We need those guys who are going to chant, "Let's go Cena," so we can chant, "Cena sucks." Because if they're not there, it's just going to be us. It's going to be, let's face it, maybe about 1 million solid, everyday obsessed professional wrestling fans. They're going to go out and watch the WWE. But we got to also remember that the WWE isn't a professional wrestling company anymore. It is a sports entertainment company. And that is a huge difference, because as a sports entertainment company, the WWE is doing something different than every other company in the world. And that's where we were during the Attitude Era. We had great backstage vignettes, huge matches, awesome, stunts, great spectacles like Austin coming out in Zambonis and beer trucks. We had great mic work with guys like The Rock. And even when we had guys who were a little bit on the lower level, they all had something to do. And that's what we need now. The WWE is starting to make strides to get back to where they were with getting the Cruiserweight division back on track, doing the brand split. They're trying to get back to where they once were, but they don't have the writers, and they don't have they don't have the writers, and they don't have what it takes at this moment to bring it back to where it was. Because the WWE is never going to be an indie federation. It's never going to be an indie wrestling company. The WWE is always going to be a sports entertainment company. And if you want an indie wrestling company, you want guys who are going to wrestle for 15 minutes every match, back and forth, this tremendous action. Do yourselves a favor and go watch Ring of Honor. Go watch New Japan on Access TV. Go watch NXT. Rewind the Cruiserweight Classic and watch it again from the beginning. That's where you're going to get that kind of stuff. But if you want a sports entertainment company, then watch the WWE. But understand that we need those other fans in order for that company to succeed. And if you don't want the WWE to be a sports entertainment company, if you want to turn it into an indie company where there's barely any stories, people just come out and put on great matches all the time, then you're watching the wrong company. I understand that guys are hardcore fans. Look, I can sit here and tell you I've watched WWE since I was 3 years old. It's a huge part of my life. I was bullied all throughout junior high school, and one of the things that helped me keep my head on straight and not want to, just crawl up in a hole and never go outside again was professional wrestling. To a point, I can even say that the professional wrestling may have saved my life. Because I was so enthralled, I needed to know what happened next. And the only time I wasn't ripped on in junior high school was because I knew everything about everybody that was out, and wrestling was just hitting its peak. We were getting to a point where we were getting the NWO and we were getting DX. We were getting to a point where Austin and The Rock were breaking out. This was the Attitude Era right in the smack in the middle of things. And it was great. It was great to watch. It was great to be a part of. Let's get ourselves back to that again. Let's find that thing that we hung on to, and let's hang on to it again. Instead of ripping on everybody who the WWE seemingly shoves down our throats, like everybody likes to say about Roman Reigns, which, by the way, let me go into this one real quick. Roman Reigns was never shoved down our throats. He got over organically. The Shield debuted. Reigns got cheered over and over again when he eliminated 4 guys in the Survivor Series match. When he tied the record, when he broke the record for the Royal Rumble elimination, when he broke the Royal Rumble elimination record, he was cheered against Batista. And a lot of people will sit there and say it wasn't just because they wanted Reigns to win, it's because they wanted to see Batista lose. Hey, you know what? Maybe that's true. By that same point, you would still rather see Roman Reigns in the main event than you did Batista. And then the reason why we started booing Roman Reigns is because we all thought that Daniel Bryan needed a second WrestleMania match in a row. It wasn't enough that we got him there once. We had to do it again. Anybody but Roman Reigns. Right. He becomes a scapegoat, just like Cena became a scapegoat. And now the guy's never going to be over. And he's never going to get to that point unless they turn him heel. And they don't want to turn him heel because, let's face it, what baby faces are left in the WWE? We just had Seth Rollins turn because Finn Balor got injured. We need to smarten up as a whole as wrestling fans. We need to realize that this isn't a situation where we can go out and we can take, the idea of seeing these guys and know that we're just going to cheer for whoever we want and not think that we affect the outcome. I'm not telling you guys to like people for the sake of liking them, but I'm telling you to understand why they're there. Do we not see that some of these guys who are a little lighter, who are indie workers, are now not as unbreakable as we thought they were? Guys like Seth Rollins got hurt. Guys like Finn Balor got hurt. Daniel Bryan may never wrestle again. And while Batista and, Roman Reigns and guys, of that size may get hurt, may be out for a little bit. John Cena is another perfect example. They come back sooner. They're less breakable. And that's why Vince McMahon likes them. What we need to do is we need to start supporting the WWE to be a sports entertainment company again. And we need to start making it vocal that we want better storylines and insert those big, long matches on the big special events instead of putting them on Raw every week. The WWE needs a whole new makeover, but we're not helping its cause. And if you have any doubt about the fact that I'm wrong, look at the ratings. This has been session 1 of the Slam Sessions. I'm Albert Justice. You can find me on Twitter at KYDJustice. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you next time.